Hello everybody! Welcome back to another programming in Java video. Today we're going to start talking about one of the most important concepts in programming. Like all the programming languages out there, it's one of the most important things to know, and that is methods. Now methods are sort of like a predefined set of instructions, so you can use them to help simplify down your code and do things over and over and over again, which is what computers are good at. Now, the methods in Java are a little harder than methods in other languages like Python. Right? Compared to Python, where you have a method, you can say def, and then method name, open and close your set of parentheses, and a colon, and that is it. Versus in Java, we have this nice, beautiful, long string of words and text right here. So we're just going to start with a basic method. This right here from lines 4 to line 7 is a method in itself. It's the main method, but to help understand what a method is, we're going to look at a simpler method, and we're just going to type static void, and say we want something like a happy birthday right here. And then we have our set of curly braces right here. So it looks very similar to the main method right here, and inside we could put some code, like we could print out happy birthday or something, just like this. And now whenever we want to execute the code between line 10 and 11, we could just copy and paste this method name, happy birthday, and we can just type it right here. So happy birthday, open close parentheses, and colon. And what it's going to do is it's going to call this method right here. So it's going to say, hey, we want you to run all the code inside happy birthday. So it's going to run line 11 right here, and it'll print out happy birthday. That's what's going on right there. We're defining code that we can use over and over again. So we can just keep copying and pasting happy birthday, toss semicolons at the end of all this, and it puts a happy birthday 4 times. Now you may notice that we put the word static and void at the beginning of happy birthday. So let's talk about what those mean. So static means that the method is not dependent on anything else. It's always going to print out happy birthday. That's what it's designed to do. Now there's also non-static methods which are dependent on what's calling them. So think about if you have a string or something, right? Like let's say you have the string Adam, and then we can do dot substring or something like that, right? From let's say index 1 or something. So substring is a non-static method because it depends on what comes before this dot. Right, so it depends on what the string is that's calling this method right here. Versus happy birthday, which is not preceded by any word and dot, it's just existing there. And we'll talk more about these non-static methods in the next video when we start talking about objects and classes. But for now, just know that a method, if you wanted to do something like print a happy birthday, it's a static method. It's a change. We also have this void term right here, and that simply means the method doesn't return anything. So what it's doing is that it's printing a happy birthday, but that's it. It's not sending a value back to the user. Compare that to like what we had before, right? Where we had added substring 1. What this is doing is that it is returning the new string. It's saying, okay, hey, we have this string right here, and then after this, it's going to return just damn. Just like that. Right there. It's not going to do the arrow thing, but like, yeah, it'll just return that, and we'll look at that in just a little bit. And you also might notice that up here we have the word public, and down here we don't have the word public. Now it's the word public, it's simply telling the computer where is the method visible, where can we call this method essentially. So we can call it in the same file right here. But if we say it's public, like this, that means we can call it from anywhere within our program. Like we could have multiple files. If you look on the left here under the file tree, we have another file here. You can call it from anywhere you want. There's also protected, which is very similar to the default visibility, like the one where if you don't put anything, which basically means you can see things in the same package. So files are organized into packages, and there's a collection of packages for your project to match a package that's like a folder of sorts. And then there's private, which means that your method can only be accessed within this file itself and not within any other file. So let's go and try it out. If we say this is a public method right here, right, and it's happy birthday, then we can go for this new file right here, which is in the same folder as the methods thing, and we can just call happy birthday, just like that, right there, and we'd have to put methods dot happy birthday. So that's saying, okay, go to the methods file and then find happy birthday right there. And it works. It prints out happy birthday, just like that. But if we switch this to private, just like this, and then we try to run it here, you see it gives us an error right here. Before we even push run, it's like, oh, there's an error. Push proceed, and it says the method happy birthday is not visible. So it doesn't know what happy birthday is in this new file. Which is why sometimes we want our methods to be public, sometimes we want them to be private, but it's always a good idea to define them before. So you public, private, or protected. Although protected is less often used than public and private. So we go ahead and have that. Let's go and save this so that error goes away. Right there. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but it's not very interesting. And what we can do is we can pass in a parameter of sorts. So let's say we want to say happy birthday somebody, right? So what we can do is we can say, hey, we want a string called name from here. So now every time we call happy birthday, we need to put a string inside the parentheses here. So we put Adam or something. So what this is doing is taking the string Adam right here, and it's like kind of sending it down the tube. Imagine the set of parentheses is like a tube, and it's sending it from here all the way over here to where string name is, and it's setting this new variable name equal to Adam. So now we can go here and we say happy birthday plus name plus let's say an exclamation point or something, and shapow. And then now whenever we want to call again, let's say we want to say happy birthday Abby, or something like that. And it puts a happy birthday Abby right here. So it's taking Abby, it's saying, okay, name is not equal to Abby, print happy birthday plus Abby plus exclamation point right here. And we're not just limited to one variable, we can pass in a second parameter. Let's say an integer age or something, right? So we're saying we want an age now, and it's giving us an error because it's saying, hey, you gotta give it a second parameter. So let's say age 17, and let's say Abby is I don't know, 15 or something, right? So now we can put a happy birthday person, and then we can print out you are, and we want age, right? And then something like years old. And then we push run, and it says, hey, happy birthday Adam, you're 17 years old. Happy birthday Abby, you're 15 years old. So what we can do is we can print out like these two lines of code, all this code right here. All we have to type is happy birthday name and an age. And you can see already why methods are incredibly useful for condensing down your code and doing things over and over and over again. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at returning a value. So right now we have a voided method. Let's try something that returns another method. So you might recall earlier in the series we talked about the differentiating between short and long names using a simple if statement. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can go ahead and say public static, right? It's a static method, but we want to return a boolean, so yes or no, and we can say name length, or not name length, maybe like short or long, just like that right there. And so it's going to take in a string name, right? It's going to be like, hey, we need a name, and then it's going to have to, you see it's going to it's giving us a red line because it's not returning anything yet, so we need to give the return statement. We'll handle that in just a little bit. Now we just say if we want to see if the name is long or short, right? Name is name.length is greater than, this is another method call right here. It's getting this is a non-static method, by the way. It's getting the length of name. But let's say, we're digressing. If name.length is greater than, say, 4, then we want to return. So we type the return word, and we just want to return true. It is a long name. And then else, if it's not, we want to return false. So if you tell the computer that's going to return a value, like this case of Boolean, you always have to return something. In this case, the computer knows that, hey, it's going to either return true or false. There's no other scenario possible. But if you get rid of the return false here, we go back to getting an error because it's like, hey, it could return true or it could just not return anything, which would be a problem. So you have to absolutely return something all the time. So just return true or return false, like that. You can also do it to where if we cut this and we get rid of this, we just put the return false down here at the bottom of the method. So what's going to happen is that if this is the case, it'll return true and it'll stop the method. Once you return, it stops the method, it goes back to where it was called. And if it doesn't do that, then it returns false. That's the default case right there. So now we can say short or long, and then we can feed it a name. Let's say Brady or something. Right? Now, by all means, Brady is a relatively short name, but our function is going to tell it's a long name. But if we push play, notice it doesn't do anything because we have this variable here. We're not doing anything with it, right? So we can go ahead and print it out. Just like that. So this method right here that's returning something, it's not printing anything out, unlike our first method, the happy birthday method. It's just giving a value back to the program. So now this short or long Brady thing is going to become the variable true, and it's going to print out true down here. Versus if we did something like Eli. I don't know what just happened there. Something fancy did. If you're looking for keyboard shortcuts, yeah, go and try to figure it out. But if we put in Eli, it prints out false. Like Eli's name is clearly not short. So you can do all sorts of stuff with these methods right here, and so I encourage you to play around with them. But just to review, methods are a set of predefined instructions. Like this happy birthday method has two print statements that will print out based on the parameters here. They could be several different types of visibility. You have like public methods that are accessible from anywhere within the program. You have protected methods, which are visible from only within inside this default or inside the package that it's in this case the default package. You have no visibility right here, which is very similar to protected, except for one small exception that does not really matter unless you're working with super huge programs. And there are it's also private, static word right here. So private means it's only accessible within this file and no other files at all. There's also static and non-static methods. We see static methods are methods that are defined. They can just be called, like this happy birthday thing, versus non-static methods are methods that have to have an object, like a name or string, right? And then they can be called from there, and their actions are dependent on what the object is that before the dot. We'll talk way more about these types of methods in the next video, and it'll make a lot more sense. But for now, just know that there's a difference between static and non-static methods. Methods, in addition, can also return a value, or they could choose not to. This first method we have returns nothing. It's a void method, versus the second method we have, which returns a Boolean. Right here, we can also return things like integer arrays, or integers, or strings, all sorts of stuff. But you do have to make sure that your return statements match what you're trying to return, and that it always returns something. And lastly, methods can take in parameters, just like this right here, where we have string name and integer age. You can take as many parameters as they want, or as few as you want. So in the next video, we'll be talking about classes and objects, and like I said, non-static methods as well, and they'll start to make more sense. But until then, take care, and I'll see you later.